I made an entire album with one of my closest childhood friends, Vilm. He produced all of the tracks and did the mixing, while I wrote the lyrics and performed. It was a solid collaboration and I got co-producer on 3 tracks, as well as main producer on the final song, because I played that piano. In this video I will be going in depth on all the aspects of this album, by breaking down the lyrics, story and more. But please, before I go on to explain both the concept of the album and the making of it, give it a listen and make your own interpretation. It is only 21 minutes long and this video should still be here when you come back. Overlook tells the story of a man's life in chronological order. It starts off with him as a child and shows how suddenly things can take a dark turn if you don't do something to fix it. Marcus Ruggles is just an average guy who deals with his struggles by himself. That is until he passes away and becomes the center of attention. I wrote this conceptual album to handle things that I have struggled with in my own life, so it is basically my own story with a different ending. I'd like to say that I was a genius with this title, but it was actually a translation error and my own interpretations of it came afterwards. What I intended to call the album was Overview, because it was going to be an overview of what I can do. What ended up happening is that in Swedish, Overview can be literally translated into Overlook, and I fell in love with that title before I realized my mistake. But I am not unhappy with it, because I like the connections that can be made from it. First of all, The Shining, which I have up on my wall behind me here. Overlook Hotel, where a man slowly goes insane, pushes his family away and dies. Spoiler alert. Second off, Saint Ruggles' family overlooking the signs of what he was going through. And third, the coping mechanism to ignore your mental health until it is too late. Also, the fact that I will be getting better at this stuff, so a bit further down the road we can overlook my first album. The album cover was simply a photo idea that I wanted to try, but in hindsight you can interpret it as a man losing his footing, falling through the ice in the middle of nowhere, like you may imagine Marcus Ruggles feeling like. It was so cold to take all of these snow-themed photos, especially when I spent 9 minutes for my phone to only capture 12 seconds of it. In order to get the picture I wanted, I recorded and took still frames during the falls. And fun fact, the first fall that I did is the one you see on the album cover. I recently posted a behind the scenes video of this process that you can see on Instagram or TikTok. Link is in the description. The first track is called In Trade ... The title In Trade comes from 2 things. Firstly, being in trades, constructing something, while the intro builds up to what me and Vilm have created. Secondly, if you push in and trade together and put the 2 dots over the A, it spells inträde, which in Swedish means entry. In the intro, we hear 2 kids talking while a reverse guitar is playing. This looks back at the innocent boy that Ruggles was, before anything could hurt him. So this may as well be the final track of the album, since it also acts as a flashback. And a fun little fact is that the kids you hear in the intro track are actually me and Vilm. It is a skit we made somewhere around 2015, 2016, I'm not sure when, about a guy who doesn't know Pokemon cards or how to pronounce them. I was the one who supposedly didn't know. Of course, the skit ended with someone dying, as it always has been in Swedish YouTube culture. The Kid is a playful song, as you can hear on the beat, where Marcus has grown a bit since we last heard of him, and now he has confidence to tell us how great he is. A fun little fact is, I wrote half this song during an English test and while studying for it. I needed to learn the word ecclesiastical, and I couldn't figure out exactly how to spell it, but I realized, oh, it spells like it sounds. So I needed to remember how it sounded, so I kept repeating ecclesiastical. When that got stuck, I just kept rhyming on top of it, and it became ecclesiastical, the kid is the fantastical, catch him in the city where they call him extraterrestrial. And I wrote basically half the song while studying for that test and while being in the classroom doing the test as well. I believe like 20 minutes into the test, I had to go out and write down the song lyrics that I had come up with because I didn't want to lose them. I co-produced this track with Vilm by making the beat from scratch, because Most of the beats on this album are fully produced by Vilm, and he just sends me beat packs over, and I pick out the ones I like and adjust my lyrics to it. But with this one, we were hanging out at Vilm's place, just producing this beat. So I was lying on his couch, being like, what if we can have like, and that's how we made the beat. Also the final is the in the end. I believe it was an error when Vilm was playing it back to me, but I found it so funny to just have a little extra like sound like that in the end, and I really like it, so yeah. Pierce is my truest song, describing my own worries and experiences. The topics are friends, self, love, family, and work. As you can see in this picture, this is how I like cut it all up, just to visualize it for myself. Some parts of this song are 5+ years old, and that's what I mean on, I believe it's The Kid, where I say, been writing for 5 years, so yes, material. This is one of those songs I've been writing for 5 years. So it was some of the first lyrics that I wrote ever. Become Graffiti actually started as a freestyle, one random evening by the PC. I was listening to The Melodic Blues by Baby Keem, or at least I had it up on my screen, and as you know from the song, that's where it starts off. The melodic of the blues, trying to fucking drink some booze. I got a lot of dues to pay, but I lost so many screws. And yeah, due to that title, I just continued on to see what could rhyme, and then I believe I wrote the first verse there, and then kept going some other day. From the perspective of the story, after Raggle has analyzed his life in Pierce, he wants to ignore it and go back to the playfulness of the kid. But as you can hear, his anger spills through in the lyrics on this one. The line, I am not the artist, I become graffiti. Like I said, this album is really my life with a bad ending. So I wrote this when I felt like all of my personal value was in the stuff that I created. It gets repeated in an overwhelming way to give the listener the same anxious feeling I felt when that was getting repeated in my head. Intarsha on My Heart. This is one that I like a lot. Whenever I listen to it, I hear my own evolution. And that is because I wrote half the poem during one of my lowest lows, really. But I wanted a happier ending to it, so I wrote the other half as I got better. It was going to be called Realize Skit when I only had half the song, because it was going to be about realizing all the things that are before the positive parts of this song. And as you can tell, that would have been a very sad song, and it didn't really work through the story, and like I said, I wanted a happier ending, so I needed to continue writing it when I felt better. The title comes from me accidentally figuring it out while translating the words, which were stuck in Swedish. I believe I wanted to figure out what Intarsha meant, and then I found out of the art form or woodworking design thing called Intarsha, and I wanted to make something out of that, and I feel like the ending of this poem, or whatever you would like to call it, is the best part of this entire thing. Saint Ruggle. First of all, in order to become a saint, you have to pass away. That is what this title is based on. And as you can tell, Saint Ruggle describes Ruggle's struggle. That is a bit of a tongue twister. Until this point of the story, we have yet to hear Marcus Ruggle's real name. Before this, he dealt with issues in the dark, and nobody saw it until it was too late. The first verse introduces Marcus to the listener. In the second verse, he has passed away, and people are talking about him and the great goals that he had. They also try to shift the blame a bit to claim deniability. In the third verse is the after party, where people are angry with Ruggle and the actions that he committed. Some people are frustrated due to him leaving them, them feeling betrayed that he didn't talk to them, and other people are frustrated because maybe they could have done something, but it's easier to shift the blame and being like, why didn't he tell us? Also, the chorus focuses on the fact that if you don't do anything about it, if you don't try to open up, not trying to blame anything on the person that is feeling bad, but if you don't open up, then there is a spiral that you will go down. Sometime you have to make a change. If that's bringing in someone into your struggles or dealing with them yourself, then that doesn't matter. Just, you need to make a change sooner or later. And I won't break down every lyric in this song because it is too personal, honestly, and that's why I write music, just so I can be vague about it. The End of Times. This is, I would say, my weirdest poem, and I got to hear that from my brother as well. He once asked me just like, what does it actually mean? Because I understand In Torch on My Heart, but I don't understand this one. I've heard so many interesting interpretations of it, so it would be a shame to like say what the correct answer is. But I can say this much. My main idea was to talk about the passage of time and just time and space coming to an end. Also, fun fact, I wrote this in 15 minutes on the bus one day when I was going home from school. I randomly got inspired to write it, and I felt like it fit perfectly in this almost trilogy of tracks. In Torch on My Heart really opens up about emotions and stuff, and then kind of ties into Saint Ruggle, where you get that full storyline, that climax of the story, and then it ends off with The End of Times, because Marcus Ruggle has passed away. As you can hear, In Torch on My Heart and The End of Times, they have the same beat, but just reversed on the first one. The final track of Overlook is No Rules to Follow. It truly closes Saint Ruggle's chapter, marking the end of his story. From my perspective, it kind of feels like this after party is going on at the same time, like the third verse of Saint Ruggle is going on at the same time as No Rules to Follow. Somebody is left playing the piano in the church. Is it Ruggle? Is it something else? Who knows? But somebody's still playing in the church. This was fully improvised and shortened, where we cut away around 3 minutes of it. And you can hear those 3 minutes in the extended cut, which was released today. Overlook, all-inclusive, the deluxe version, is available on all streaming platforms as of now. It includes the original songs, instrumental versions, one demo, and the full version of No Rules to Follow. I'm sitting here editing this video when realizing that it will be pretty long. So I'm deciding to split it up in 2 pieces. You've now heard all about the background and concept of the album, so come back next week to hear the meaning behind the lyrics. Please leave a like, any thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to not miss the second part. Check out my links in the description below. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye.